The Rundown here on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to head directly out to the hotline, and we're going to welcome in from ESPN. Last night you were doing the Kentucky matchup, and you're working the South Carolina-Alabama game this weekend. Mr. Kevin Fitzgerald, thanks for joining the program, man. It's great to have you with us.
Hey, Rob. It's been too long. Great to talk with you, my friend. Hope you're well. Welcome to March.
Absolutely. We've got this is like college basketball's Christmas season, man. And I wanted to talk with you a little bit about some SEC stuff. First of all, let's look at the conference. You know, generally, you and I go to Operation Basketball with the ACC, and there's always talk of we've got several different teams here that can do things, and the ACC is full of depth. Not really the case this year, but if you look at the SEC, you've got, I say 6 teams that could make the Sweet 16 in theory.
There's a whole bunch of them. There really are. And this has been an evolution of sorts, I think, for the SEC when it comes to basketball. Right now, you've got 5 teams currently in the top 25. There's been several others that spent a little time in the top 25. That's just an illustration of there are some quality teams from top to bottom, not just at the top as well. You got a team like South Carolina, picks up a win last night. They're now they've got 9 league wins, 18 wins overall. So it's a league that has gotten, there's no gimmies anymore. It's a league that has gotten from top to bottom a little just better overall. I think it's been an evolution. This goes back to, Mike Slive's last couple years, Greg Sankey's first couple of seasons as commissioner. They brought in a gentleman by the name of Mike Tranghese, who was the longtime commissioner of the Big East. There is a time, there is an era. There was a time, I think, in college basketball history where you think of Big East basketball, and it was the pinnacle, the peak, and had a sustained run. It's still a very strong conference now. It's just not as large as it was. So I think that's how it's lost a little bit of that luster. But there was a time where the Big East was at its peak. And I think Greg and Mike, they were wise enough to say, we've got to get this men's basketball thing right. And there was a concerted effort, a concerted message to administrations, to athletic departments. It was, we've got to shore this thing up. I mean, there were SEC teams winning 25 games, and they were like 10 seeds in the NCAA tournament. Now, that might be unjust, but sometimes the harsh truth is perception is reality. I mean, there was a good 5-10 year stretch where it was Kentucky, Florida, and we don't really care about really paying any interest to any other teams in that league. Now that ain't the case at all. I mean, heck, the team that's going to win the SEC most likely this year is historically maybe the worst team that the conference has ever seen, the Auburn Tigers. And that's the rejuvenation that program has been through the last several years under Bruce Pearl. So again, it was a message to the athletic departments. They hired good coaches. Better coaches. I think that the coaching searches were more thorough. There was more of an investment placed in that. There was also a greater investment placed in recruiting specifically for men's basketball, in facilities as well. There's one thing we know about the SEC. It's dominant in a sense in just about every other sport. It was women's basketball, football, various other sports as well. And I think there came a time when the message was, we've got to improve our men's basketball product, and we've definitely seen that. So the last 6 years, 7 different programs have claimed at least a share of the SEC title. So that's a perfect depiction right there that it is not just Kentucky and it's not just Florida anymore. This thing is vastly improved, and the future is, I think it's going to be just as strong moving forward.
Brandon asks a question online. He says, if the Gamecocks can beat Auburn on the road this weekend, will that put South Carolina into the bubble mix?
I think it very well should. And I'm glad he referenced, the bubble. It's crazy. Look, there are really good teams in college basketball. sometimes I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes we go, it's a weak bubble, it's a strong bubble. There's some really quality teams that are going to be getting in as 9, 10, 11 seeds. So, yes, I mean, South Carolina, no question. If you can win on the road against the 5th-ranked team of the country, and I think they're higher in the net. Their Ken Palm is right around there. They're 7th. So basically, this is as quad one or as strong of a win as you could possibly get. It's the best team in the league. It's a projected 1 seed. And if South Carolina walks into that building, which that place is going to be rocking because there's going to be a lot of folks showing up to that game to see some nets getting cut down because Auburn has a chance to, with a win tonight, essentially clinch at least a share. And I'm sure they would have some sort of a ceremony at home on Saturday for their final home game. So South Carolina can withstand the barrage in a sense of hysteria and just a quality basketball team inside Auburn Arena. No question. And I think South Carolina has trended in the right direction. You know, look, we get it. There were a couple of clunky, dubious losses earlier in the year. Yes, they lost to Coastal Carolina. Frank didn't have his best player in Jermaine Couisnard. Jermaine Couisnard's playing like one of the better players in the league right now, at least over the last 5 games or so. So I think you want to be trending in the right direction at this time. This program certainly has. It beat LSU a couple of weeks back. It beat Mississippi State. Boy, yes. I mean, no question. If you beat Auburn, you're in the mix in that conversation. Now, I still think you got to do a little work in the SEC tournament. You might have to win a game or two and I say that to take the chance out of this. If you want to take chance out of the equation, yes, you may have to win a game or two. But look, the point is, I think regardless of whatever tournament South Carolina winds up in, if it's the NIT, I really mean this. I think this fan base needs to appreciate that because there has been a belief. I've had South Carolina a couple of times. I've been around the program and the players. Like, these guys are talking about postseason. Like, there is a strong belief. And we've seen that, displayed on the court. This team has won 5 of its last 6. So I think whatever postseason this team gets into, just trust me, like, you're going to have players that are going to be appreciative of that. They're going to want to do some damage in that tournament, whichever one they ultimately make. So, but with a win against Auburn, that's a game changer, no question.
Well, we mentioned the Tigers. They're 13-3. They're on top of the standings, but they've lost 2 out of their last 3, and they blew an 11-point second-half lead to Tennessee. Tennessee's the hottest team in the conference right now. Would you agree?
Well, behind Arkansas, Tennessee's right there. I mean, Arkansas is playing as good a basketball and I should even say this about a team like Arkansas. They are just as connected, as united, harmonious as any team in college basketball, I think, right now. But Tennessee's right behind them. I think the one thing that Tennessee has gotten right in a sense of late is, they're getting a little dangerous from beyond the arc as well. So just you can go ask Bruce Pearl what a hot shooting team can do in the NCAA tournament. He had one of college basketball's greatest 3-point shooting teams in its history 3 years ago when that Auburn team made the Final Four and were 3 Kyle Guy free throws away from a national championship game appearance. So Tennessee and Santiago Vescovi, he's their kind of lights out knockdown shooter right now. So Tennessee is right there. They're a hot team, but Arkansas, I think, is no question the hottest team in the league. You could say Kentucky as well. It's just, there is quality at the top. There is quite a bit of quality at the top, and there are a lot of folks that think you've got 2, 3, maybe 4 teams in this conference alone that can make a Final Four run. Now, it's great to say that now. It's March 2nd. We'll see if it actually comes to fruition because there's a whole lot of gaudy talk right now. But look, it's starting Monday, starting next week. That's champ week. That's conference tournaments, and a lot of teams use that as a springboard to the NCAA tournament. So we got a whole lot of talk. We'll see if some of these teams can walk the walk starting next week.
Well, speaking of which, Alabama is a team that they've been playing some pretty good basketball. But when you watch Alabama, and it seems like the turnover bug can catch them at different parts of a game. But if they can, control the basketball a little bit, I mean, they're just as solid as some of the teams near the top.
Yes, I agree. And they've got a really dynamic backcourt in Javon Quinterly and Jaden Shackelford. So if you look back at some of the latest national champions, you really want to have a quality guard. And Alabama has quality guard play. Now, to your point, they can be a little reckless at times, but they're talented, they're skilled, they're playmakers. Sometimes you're going to be prone to mistakes if the ball isn't in your hands quite a bit. So, Alabama, no question, I think they're a team that can, and this is what I've heard a lot discussed about Alabama this year. Look, they have just as good a chance of running the table, making a Final Four as they do maybe getting bounced in the first round. They have incredible wins this year against Baylor, against Houston, against Gonzaga, who's been the top-ranked team in the country for much of this year. But yes, also they've lost. They lost to Missouri on the road. They lost to Georgia on the road. So they've kind of had a couple of head-scratching defeats as well. But look, many teams at this point are going to have one or two. What a lot of teams don't have is what Alabama has done against the best of the best. Wins against Baylor, wins against Tennessee, against Houston, against Gonzaga. That Gonzaga game, that was in Washington. So that's an Alabama program that traveled a long way to go beat Gonzaga in its home state. So they can catch fire, but many think that they feel like a team that could get upended in the first round. And it's now just a question of, you're right, what Alabama are we going to see? And look, Nate Oates is a quality coach. I think he's going to be in Tuscaloosa for a long time. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get teams prepared. We'll see what happens for the Tide come tournament time.
All right, quick question for you about Coach K and coaching his final game at Cameron Indoor this coming weekend. And I've read where tickets up in the nosebleeds there at Cameron are going for right around $6,000. I mean, it's insane how many people are jacked up for this game. For in reality, it doesn't mean anything. Duke has won the conference and will be the number one seed. But I mentioned that game because when the ACC heads into next season, you're going to have Jim Boeheim as kind of the guy that's long in the tooth there. But the coaches that are there, you mentioned the coaches that went into the SEC earlier, but the coaches that are in the ACC now are all just trying to get themselves above water. And I think that's kind of the reason the ACC is kind of treading water on the basketball front this year.
Yeah, and I still think the conference, especially at the top of that, I still think it's better than most people. I think that's become it's become the trendy thing this year to kind of glance at the ACC and maybe overlook that conference to a certain degree. I think Duke is really, really good. And just going back to the Coach K's final game final game that he's going to coach inside Cameron Indoor. I mean, it's going to be really special. It's going to be a really special moment for him. This has been the celebration tour for the sport's most iconic coach to ever walk the sideline. So that one's going to be really special. But you're right. To get in the door, you might have to, it's going to take a month's pay to buy that ticket. You got those tickets going for a few $1,000s. I think Notre Dame is better than people are giving them credit for, North Carolina with Hubert Davis. But I think that what Coach K stepping away symbolizes, and we'll see it with Coach Boeheim. He's coaching his two sons, and they're on the roster, I believe, for one more year. That has been the worst kept secret in a sense, I think, in Syracuse is when is Jim going to retire? He was going to coach his kids, and when their careers were done and when they graduated, I think it's pretty likely he steps away as well. But I think what we're seeing, just this passing of the torch, in a sense, for some of these iconic programs and iconic coaches to the next coach, who is the person who is going to, fill the shoes of a Coach K. So John Shire is going to take over next year. Hubert Davis already has taken over at North Carolina. Steve Forbes at Wake Forest he was hired ahead of like that was a good hire, I think. And so, Mike Young at Virginia Tech. So I think it's just the next wave of great coaches who was going to succeed Jim Boeheim. We're going to start to see that. I think once that happens, once you get a great stable of coaches who maybe have spent a few years at some of these prestigious universities in the ACC, and they have their system, their philosophy, their cultures in place, you're going to see this conference, I think, rise once again, and we're going to see the same quality of basketball, in the ACC. But yeah, I mean, I think so, the Big Ten, the SEC, these are a couple of conferences that have kind of taken maybe some of the talent that would have just automatically gone to the ACC. So to me, that's good for college basketball. I think we want quality spread throughout, and I think that's good for different regions of the country, for different conferences. I think it's good for college basketball. However, that all being said, yeah, I think it's going to be a special day inside Cameron Indoor on Saturday.
Final question for Kevin from ESPN, and of course we appreciate him joining us here. Brandon wants to know your thoughts on Florida. What do they have to do to get into the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, reasonably speaking, look, if you can topple Kentucky, the annual finale against Kentucky, that's going to go a long way. And so you start looking what has Florida done? It would have won 20 games. It would be above 500 in the SEC. It would be 10-8 if it can topple Kentucky. And again, that's an if. But it does have the luxury of the opportunity. It has the luxury of getting them in Gainesville. And I think realistically, you got to win a game in Tampa. If you can win two, I think Florida is in a position where they're going to play. They don't have that bye to the quarterfinals, so I don't think they want to bye to the quarterfinals. They want opportunities to stack wins. So you beat Kentucky, that's 20 wins. If you can get a game or two, maybe reach the semis to the SEC tournament. To me, that should get you in. I personally think that. They have a weird loss earlier this year to Texas Southern, which is bizarre, at home, and that's really hurting their numbers and things. The part that I hate is we sometimes, when we look at the metric, the net, the metrics, the numbers are, a very heavy indicator, or that's data that is certainly heavily weighed when you're determining the field. However, I understand that. I don't love when we maybe obsess over one thing. And it's like, look at what Florida has done lately. Look at its victory potentially against Kentucky. Look at its win against Auburn earlier this month. Look at its win against a program like Oklahoma State. Sometimes we're left doing but look at that. We get it. It was early in the year. I just hate how sometimes, maybe something, just an outlier in a sense. Alabama beating Gonzaga. That's really going to help them. Florida losing to Texas Southern, it seems to be hurting them quite a bit. And I don't love that maybe an outlier scenario like those two really, really affects the metric, your net ranking. It's a long year. Let's look at the whole body of work. So, hey, I think maybe advancing, if they can win Saturday, you win at least a game in Tampa. I would think that's enough. I would think that's enough for Florida. But they need wins. They can't lose. They can't lose to Kentucky and then get bounced in their first game in Tampa. That's not going to do it.
All right, Kevin Fitzgerald from ESPN joins us. Gamecock fans, listen for his call because he has the Gamecocks and Auburn on Saturday. Kevin, I appreciate you being a friend of the program and coming on with us each year with some college basketball. And I want to do some baseball stuff with you too, if you get into that too, because your knowledge of the baseball game is great as well.
Absolutely. Hey, rough week for baseball. Hopefully the next time we talk, we got some games in the calendar. But yeah, you said it. We've got South Carolina's game at Auburn. That's 1 Eastern, SEC Network this Saturday. So tune in if you can. I love the way South Carolina is playing. Devin Carter, he's a fearless freshman. I love watching him. and he'll need a big day if they want to topple Auburn on the road.
All right, Kevin. Hey, man, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, there you go. Kevin Fitzgerald from ESPN joining us here on the program. I like bringing on people that know more than I do. And Kevin is one of those guys who has been on the road in the SEC this year. You've probably heard him call a game for your favorite SEC team. I mean, he just did the Kentucky game last night, and he's going to do South Carolina Auburn on Saturday. I was listening to him do the Mizzou game a couple of weeks ago. Just a guy that's been around the league, and he said some interesting stuff there. So we appreciate Kevin joining us here today on the Rundown. All right, so we do have some football to talk about. Spencer Rattler spoke for the first time today as a South Carolina quarterback. We'll have that for you in just a moment. This is the Rundown, brought to you by Mazda of Columbia, mazdaofcolumbia.com. More of the Rundown in just a moment. Yeah, Kevin's pretty good. He knows his stuff, man. I like having Kevin on the show. He's solid. Clemson may get to 500. You guys better calm down. Clemson's a gong show. Terrible. Yeah, I spoke with Terrence Oglesby today, an interview that I'm going to play tomorrow, and he said that the emergence of Hunter was kind of the big reason that the Tigers have kind of vaulted up a little bit. So yeah, I think Virginia Tech's tough. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate my buddy Kevin Fitzgerald for joining us here from ESPN, who broke down the stuff with the Gamecocks and how they can make the tournament, how Florida can make the tournament, and a little ACC SEC talk. Talked about Coach K, so all kinds of good stuff there. You can go and check that out on the podcast if you missed it. But some great stuff from my buddy from ESPN. All right, so Spencer Rattler today got to speak to the media for the first time, and he talked a little bit about how he feels about joining the Gamecock program.
I feel totally just refreshed, to be at a new university, a great university like this. I feel a sense of, I'm very comfortable here, knowing Coach Beamer, getting to know all these guys. My first month up here, it's just, I made a great decision. And I just am happy I'm in this position. And like you said, pressure, I feel like the pressure's taken off a little bit, this year. But, my main focus right now is just starting up with my team here in about a week and a half after spring break and get going on spring ball.
So Rattler was also asked about, there's the big thing with the reality show he did when he was in high school about 6 years ago. And he didn't come across as the best guy in that show. And he was asked about it and he handled it pretty well. I mean, I don't know how well I would have handled it if reporters were asking me questions like this, but it's a very real question. The way you were portrayed in that show wasn't very good. How do you feel about people looking down on you for the way that show made you look. Here's what Rattler said.
A lot of people seem to forget that it's a reality TV show. And at that time, I was 16, 17 years old, having fun with my buddies in high school. We all were that was our authentic self in high school, just joking around, having fun, competing. And I think people around sports who play sports, they see that competition side come out of you, comes out of people in different ways. But my character is definitely not portrayed well in that show. And that's just, how it was made. I'm obviously, 5 years, 6 years, grown from that. And hopefully I've changed a little bit. I definitely have. So, I'm just a very competitive guy, very confident guy, and also a very caring person. So,
yeah, you hear that and you think, okay, that's what you want. That's what you want your guy to say. He came out there. He looked like $1 million wearing a Gamecock pullover there and stood up there like he was already leading the team, and they haven't even started spring practice yet. So now, obviously, things, when you get to spring practice and he may get out there and be like, whoa, all right, you got to get that chemistry going with your guys. But I thought that, Shane Beamer last season, especially before the season started, the Super Bowl of press conferences, he was the champion. He really was. And then Shane Beamer comes out and gets Spencer Rattler, and the Gamecocks are dominating in the offseason for 2 straight seasons. They went out and last season it was all positive. Okay. Get into the season, you ended up with a winning season, winning a bowl game where not very many people thought they could do that. Then this season you get some tight end, you get a tight end from Oklahoma, big time quarterback from Oklahoma, and it looks like that they're making the turn down there. So it's a beacon of positivity right now. And I think he was a polarizing quarterback. I think that you got to remember less than a year ago, 6 months ago, in September, basically, he was talking, had pouty face on the sideline when he was replaced by Caleb Williams. And you still got that, and those images are out there. Now, at South Carolina, as far as talent goes, he's the best quarterback, I think, that as far as ratings go in the history of the Gamecock program, just by walking on campus. Now he has to fill those shoes and go. And we'll see how that works out for him. And I think he knows, hey, yes, he'll be a junior, but he's got one season. If he's wanting to make the NFL, and he's got to come out here and put up big numbers. And, to do that is important to him. That's the NFL is the end game for him. But the press conference today, good stuff there from the new Gamecock quarterback. Some comments from some of the folks in the chat room. Brandon says, we only have Rattler for one season. He'll enter the draft after this season. Yep. You're right about that. SEC Dog says, I'd be happy with one. I think he's talking about NCAA tournaments every 3 years or so, at least at UGA. They're the Vanderbilt of college basketball. Embarrassing. Yeah. You know what? I got to give SEC Dog some credit here, because he seems to actually care about the basketball program at Georgia. And there are a good set of Georgia fans that just don't care. Good set of Clemson fans that just don't care. It's not out of the range of sanity to say, you know what? You can have a really good football program and a respectable basketball program. You really can. So, yeah, I got a lot of respect there for SEC Dog coming in talking some hoops today, because the Bulldogs are having a season that they don't really want to talk about. It's really a mess. Jay's also over there talking some hoops too, so we appreciate that with Georgia. And I think that Tom Crean is on his way out. On his way out. That's going to happen. So tomorrow on the program, we've got an interview with Will Vandervoort from Clemson SI previewing the matchup with South Carolina and Clemson. The rivalry series gets underway on Friday. So he's going to preview that series with us. We've also got Andrew Jones from Tar Heel Illustrated, and he talks about the final game for Coach K at Duke. Yeah, and a couple of comments from Terrence Oglesby. We'll have all that for you tomorrow here on the Rundown. More of the Rundown when we come back. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. I think you're right about the basketball team there, buddy. Jordan, you know what? I'm going to share this with you guys. I don't think I've ever told you my Clemson basketball story. So I don't think I've told anybody this. So it's kind of morbid, and I've only got a minute and a half here. But here's what happened. I was going to go in the Marine Corps right out of high school. My best friend was killed in a car accident. That's the morbid part. And I decided, you know what? My brain's not mentally right to go to Parris Island. I'm going to go to college. So I had to go my first year of college because when he died, they'd already, I got accepted to South Carolina, Clemson, and I think East Carolina too. Anyway, I had to go to a junior college my first year, and I went to Spartanburg Methodist. I took all of my graduation money and I bought Clemson basketball tickets, and they were okay. But I suffered through going to watch some games at Little John, basically getting a ride from just about anybody to go and watch Clemson basketball. Broke as a Joe, man, but I had my season tickets. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Caring about the basketball team. Ooh, Will Wade equals Kirby Smart. Okay. We haven't caught Kirby Smart cheating, though. There, Edwin. Sorry. Okay, terrific. Let's go out to the phones. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Welcome into the program. Good afternoon.
Well, Rob, it's Bobby and Casey. How are you doing?
Hey, Bobby, what's up?
Little bit on March 2nd to lighten up, whet everybody's appetite in college football. Phil Steele has his projected AP preseason top 10 out on his website. Alabama 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3, Clemson 4, Texas A&M 5, Notre Dame 6, Michigan 7, Utah 8, Oklahoma 9, Oregon 10. Not to brag on myself, I've helped Phil Steele sell quite a few of his preseason magazines in this town.
Yeah, well,
good publication.
Well, right off the bat, the first thing that I say is Clemson at 4 is a little bit high until they can figure out the quarterback situation and the fact that the offensive line is kind of a question mark. You can't be a top 5 team, in my opinion, unless you've got the answers at quarterback and your offensive line isn't shaky. The Tigers could win 10 games next season just rolling the football out there. But as far as being a top 5 team, you got to have those things squared away.
I just sent you something I saw on Twitter. I don't have his name. There's an offensive off of Tiger.net. They have an offensive lineman that's going to be out most of the year now.
Yeah.
That came out within the last 7 minutes.
Okay, we'll definitely.
I didn't have a chance to crack it open and look at it, but I guess one of their 5 starters right from the get-go, I guess, got hurt in the first day of spring practice.
Yeah, that's not good.
Are you going to be on the air? Are you going to be on the air Thursday and Friday?
I've got interviews recorded for tomorrow, but I'm off on Friday. So yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. I heard you say on the way home from work. I just happened to get Wednesday a weekday off. So
yeah, man.
On the way traveling home, I can only hear the last 30 minutes of your program, but I don't follow sports when I'm at work. So today I was off. I called that in. But that's Phil Steele. Real good publication for anybody that wants to get it. You pre-order it, it'll be in your mailbox by June 15th. That's with shipping and handling tacked on. So just it's something to whet the appetite on March 2nd, because everyone starts putting out their top 25 and on their Twitter feeds that, I would say all three of them, Atlons, Lindy's, and Phil Steele, you can start gathering information till the magazines come out around in the May, early June.
All right. Hey, man, I
Have a
appreciate
good day.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. All right. Who he's talking about, and this just came out, is offensive lineman Mason Trotter. According to Dabo Swinney, will probably going to be out most of the season with a non-injury situation, and said that it was nothing that he is mad at or a legal issue. He'll have 2 seasons of eligibility left after this year. Clemson's got a shortage of linemen. Center Hunter Rayburn's injury, which put him into retirement. See, that's, it's interesting. Sweeney also said that Will Putnam will move over to first team center to start spring practice. Trent Howard and Ryan Linthicum will also battle for playing time with Putnam. So, yeah, there's that. When you step back, it's like, oh, my goodness. Clemson loses another offensive lineman. And once again, one thing that I'll stick with until the last time I do this show: to win football games, you need to make sure you've got a solid offensive line. I know that sounds like it's just rudimentary, but you got to have it. I mean, it's elementary, not rudimentary. What's wrong with me? Anyway, you've got to have an offensive line. Clemson's got issues there. So everybody that's putting, the Tigers at number 4, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Now, are they a top 20 team? Yeah, I can buy that. But, hey, we're going to have them at number 4 with the offensive line that has issues, and we don't know if DJ Uiagalelei is going to be the guy that threw for 90 yards against South Carolina or the guy that threw for 300 and something yards against Notre Dame. We don't know. So to put them at 4th in the country, I don't know what Phil Steele's doing there, but it just seems a little far-fetched. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you would like to join us here on the Rundown. Breaking news: Mason Trotter for Clemson is going to miss a good portion of the season. That's not what you want. More offensive linemen leaving the program or not playing. Wow. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. We've talked some football. We've talked some basketball. Tomorrow we're going to talk baseball with Will Vandervoort about the Clemson South Carolina matchup. Mac Anglin, the young man who's probably going to start on Friday night, he's been the Friday night starter, has given up 1 hit in 10 innings of baseball. Now, I don't care who you're going up against. That's pretty good. Pretty good. And I've read that he's getting in the upper 90s, 97 miles an hour with his fastball. So coming into Columbia, that's going to be a challenge for anyone. But Founders Park is a hitter's park. We'll see how that works out for him when the Gamecocks and Tigers start their series this weekend. By the way, we do have Clemson basketball tonight as they welcome in Georgia Tech. The Tigers could finish with a 500 record or a better than 500 record if they can win their last 2 games. They currently sit 14-15. If they win against Georgia Tech tonight and they win against Virginia Tech over the weekend, which I think Virginia Tech is a really good team, then this Clemson team will finish with a winning record on the season, and they lost 6 straight games at one point. So that's one of those things where the job security thing for Brad Brownell, he may be coaching for his job. Not saying that he's going to get fired either way, but I'll tell you what, if you look at it from the perspective of, look, we lost 6 straight, but then we won 4 straight. They win a game in the ACC tournament. I don't think they're making the NIT, but if they can make a move like that and just show that there's some promise, maybe that'll be enough to buy Brad Brownell another year, or they may be just keeping Brad Brownell anyway. Who knows at this point? Brandon says the Clemson defense should be great. They did lose almost the whole secondary, and he says that Oskowski is gone. Yeah, but there's the linebackers that Clemson has. They've got some depth there, and I think that's not going to be the issue for Clemson. The issue for Clemson is going to be on that offensive line. It really, really is. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown. Breaking news, Mason Trotter is going to miss the majority of the season. Coach Dabo Sweeney says it's not a medical issue. It's not a legal issue. He's just going to miss the season. We'll see. And, of course, I haven't read anything but that. And we'll have to figure out if there's anything else on that front. But Clemson loses another offensive lineman. Insane. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown, right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400, of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. If you missed the interview with Kevin Fitzgerald from ESPN, you can check that out. It will be up on the podcast later on. Kevin talked about what South Carolina needs to do to win the tournament or get into the tournament. It all starts with beating Auburn on the road. Auburn's lost 2 out of their last 3 games. So we shall see if South Carolina can go down there and do some stuff. You know, South Carolina gives them problems. Keyshawn Bryant is a guy that's really long and can play some defense. Cousinard has the ability to go off. And Stevenson's a guy that can shoot the 3. So if they can go down to Auburn and win that game, I think that gives the Gamecocks, gets them right into the mix next week. And we're talking about, hey, if they win a game in Tampa, go down to Tampa and they win a game, maybe they'll make the tournament. We shall see. But anyway, check out Kevin's comments on that. We'll have that up for you here right about 5 o'clock this afternoon. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. More of the Rundown when we come back. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. By the way, tonight, new Rob and Kale show. Just wanted to tell you guys, we made enough money from the raffle tickets to help out the pediatric NICU. Thanks to Big Barney Ross and Beg and Megan and some other folks. And, of course, Ken Bellinger and Beth bought tickets. We reached the 100-ticket plateau. My daughter is going to shave my head live on the show tonight. And we're going to crown a winner. All of that tonight for you. So you can watch as my teenage daughter shaves my head as we made enough money for the NICU. So I will look like a giant thumb. Yeah, I said if we sold 100 raffle tickets for the matchup with if you win, you get seats behind home plate for South Carolina and Clemson at Segra Park, that I would shave my head. I did not realize that you guys would go off and buy a bunch of tickets. And since that happened, we sold 100 tickets. And ta-da! We are going to shave my head live tonight on the show. She's going to take the clippers and just shave my mop with it. I don't know. I mean, she doesn't know what she's doing. She's 13. Yeah, but we're going to do that tonight. Live on the Rob and Kale show. That's what's going to happen. So thank you guys for supporting the Children's Hospital too, by the way. I think I did. That was a long time ago. She's going to shave it with the clippers. I don't know if I'm going to bick it. I don't know if I want to do that. She's definitely going to shave it down with the clippers. I won't have any hair left on my head. People were goofing with me here at work about, are you going to shave your beard too? I don't know if I'm giving up my beard. To heck with all that. Super chat will have to be full for me to get my beard up. I've had a beard forever. Ever. Final segment of the rundown this afternoon here on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. Some projections came out today from Jerry Palm as far as the NCAA tournament is concerned. And I tell you what, the number 1 seeds, he's got Gonzaga, Baylor, Arizona, and Auburn. Don't really have a problem with that. Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, and Purdue at the 2 seeds. Purdue's a team that's interesting, by the way. You've also got Wisconsin, Tennessee, Villanova, and Texas Tech as your 3 seeds. Arkansas is a 4 seed. Alabama is in at a 5 seed. Texas is also a 5 seed. Ohio State and LSU at 6 seeds. 7 seeds, Michigan State, Boise State, Iowa State, and Colorado State. Yeah, interesting stuff there. Let's go out to the phones. And welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon. Hello. All right, well, there you go. Call back. All right, going back to the 9 seeds, Davidson is a 9 seed in this projection. 10 seeds are Wake Forest and Notre Dame from the ACC. 11 seeds, North Carolina, North Texas. There you go. 12 seeds, you know the whole thing they try to feed you on ESPN. There's always a 12 that's going to beat a 5 every year. Your 12 seeds are Memphis, Loyola Chicago, SMU, and South Dakota State. Your 13 seeds are Towson, Vermont, Chattanooga, and Iona. And your 14 seeds, Toledo, Princeton, which is a team that's played pretty good basketball. 15 seeds, I'm looking for teams that you might know. Longwood, Long Beach State. I like watching the 16 seeds. I'm just saying. I'm going to take, they don't have a chance in the world, but Colgate, Cleveland State, Norfolk State, and Nichols State. So, yeah. Paul has Alcorn State projected as the SWAC champion and Bryant as the NEAC champion. He has Miami as another 11 seed. He says Miami could be a first 4 type thing, first 4 team, in addition to Florida as a number 12 seed. So he has Miami and Florida as in the play-in bracket. So that's kind of interesting in its own right. You know, I try to keep track of these on the bookcase of accountability, but they update them every game. So it's kind of hard. But my projections right now, if you had to ask me as far as the SEC goes, I mean, when you look at the top, I like Auburn, Alabama, LSU. Those 3 are just solid, and I like Arkansas a lot. And then as far as other teams that are right there in the mix, you know, you look at Florida. They've had a horrible loss on the season. South Carolina can win their way in. They really could. They really, really could. Going to Auburn and winning there, you got to remember, Auburn's lost 2 out of their last 3 games. So they are a team that, you know, they may be trying to coast. Who knows at this point? But South Carolina could win that matchup. They really could. And then they go down, and Frank Martin's going to have his team ready to play in the SEC tournament. I mean, as long as he's got guys there, they're going to be playing hard. So their net rankings as of today, on Tuesday, they were number 91. They did gain a quad 3 win. So let's see here. I'm trying to see where Vanderbilt's just moved into the top 75 in the net. So that helps out South Carolina's rankings. But I'm trying to see if I can find where they are right now, as this article is not helping me. But South Carolina's net number is going up a little bit. Kentucky is another team that could do some stuff too. But you could put South Carolina, in my opinion, Florida, all of them in a bag, and I wouldn't be shocked if one or both of them made the tournament. I really wouldn't. Papa Blake says, will Kentucky get a 1 seed with the SEC Conference Tourney Championship? I think they might. If they can knock off Auburn, I think they might. And LW's right. And it's like, there's, I actually have it here. If the SEC tournament were held today, I've got this bracket here. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. As we roll along here. So let's see here. Oh, here we go. If the tournament ended today, Auburn would be your 1 seed. I mean, if the season ended today, Auburn would be the 1 seed. South Carolina would be the 7 seed. So South Carolina would not have to play until Thursday. They would be the 7 seed, and they would get Texas A&M. And you would have Ole Miss and Missouri in game 1, Vandy and Georgia in game 2. Boy, that's a pillow fight. And then down the road, we'd go with LSU and Mississippi State as the 8-9 matchup. Alabama would get the game 1 winner on Thursday, either Ole Miss or Missouri. South Carolina would be the 7-10 matchup, and then Florida would get the game 2 winner. So they would get their Vanderbilt or Georgia. Tennessee would get the 2 seed. They would get the game 5 winner in that next matchup, which would be South Carolina and Texas A&M. And South Carolina's had issues with Tennessee. It's just a bad matchup for South Carolina. For the Gamecocks, I think they want to try to avoid, they want Tennessee on that other side of the bracket. I think that they have a better opportunity to match up with Alabama over Tennessee, in my opinion. So, yeah. And obviously, this could change with the games this weekend. Some teams can move up. Some teams could move down. We shall see as we roll along. All right, tomorrow on the show, Will Vandervoort from Clemson SI talks the South Carolina Clemson matchup as we head into rivalry weekend for the baseball front. We'll get into all of that with him. Then also Terrence Oglesby joins us for a bit. We'll talk with him a little bit about some SoCon teams and teams that you got to know on your bracket. We'll talk with him about that. We've also got Andrew Jones from Tar Heel Illustrated. He will join us to talk with you about the matchup, North Carolina and Duke. Final North Carolina-Duke game for Coach Mike Krzyzewski. And he is on his way out up there. And it's, he's been there since I've been born, basically. And he's just been there so long. And to see that era end, it's I think that lots of folks will be watching that on TV. It's like $6,000 for a ticket. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Brandon says, with Big Ben and Brady retired, who's the longest tenured NFL quarterback? And maybe Aaron Rodgers. Maybe Aaron Rodgers. That's a good point. We shall see on that. I don't know. As far as longest tenured quarterback, yeah, it could be Aaron Rodgers. All right, Lawton Swan from Clemson Sports Talk is next. He is the czar of Clemson sports. Be sure to check out his program right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400, also on the iHeartRadio app. He's on every day with you from 4 to 6 o'clock. And he will get you set up for whatever it is going on out there. Mason Trotter, I'm sure he'll be talking about that this afternoon. Looking forward to the show tomorrow. Got some interviews set up, but I will be out of the studio on Friday. I'm taking Friday off, but you can follow me on Twitter as I document. I'll be doing some Twitter reporting this weekend on the South Carolina Clemson series. Be sure to check me out there. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. Don't forget, podcast is up at 5 o'clock. Kevin Fitzgerald joined us from ESPN. And he had some interesting stuff to say about South Carolina and their chances. And he talked about Florida and all kinds of other stuff, too. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. We shall see you tomorrow with the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Appreciate you guys, man. We'll see you later on. All right. Head shaving tonight on the podcast.